Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of SIRDCAST. I have an incredible co-host here, Ollie Fisher. Ollie, how are you doing this morning?
Thank you very much. Ready to go.
Fantastic. And our first guest, which we're really excited about, is Lionel Renaud. He's from Geneva. Are you originally from Geneva at first, Lionel?
Hi, everybody. I'm from Lausanne, but I live in Geneva now, yes, in the French part of Switzerland.
Perfect. Well, we are going to dive into some really great questions because you were one of the initial movers and shakers for SIRD. And for those who don't know SIRD, we are the Society of International Rudimental Drummers, and it is honestly an exciting project and a kind of global brotherhood. But Ollie, is there anything you'd like to add just to get us started with SIRD and what SIRD means?
I think, yes, definitely. I think SIRD is, as you said, founded in 2016. We hear more about it later with Lionel. We had 2 symposiums. We would have a third symposium in Portsmouth this year, but we postponed it for next year. It's actually a collaboration of drummers and hopefully in the future also fifers who are getting engaged, and their vision is shared tradition. And I think much more later on with Lionel. I'm sure he will tell us a few stories how it all started.
I will try.
Excellent. So what we'll do is we'll start with a brief introduction here. I mean, Lionel, you have an incredible resume. I know you just as a really good person and a fantastic drummer, but you have a lot of other things under your belt as well. Lionel is the president of the French-speaking part of the STPV. Can you explain what that is?
Yes, the STPV is the main association in Switzerland, called in French ASTF. Yes, I'm working in the committee from this association.
Okay, well, fantastic. And the French-speaking part, we all know that Switzerland is an amazing country, has several languages that's being spoken in the different regions. So there's the French-speaking region, the German-speaking region, and there's a small area that speaks Italian. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then the fourth one, if I'm going to pronounce this properly, is Romanche. Is that
It's correct. Yeah, it's correct.
Okay.
It's correct.
Do each of these areas have their own drumming societies?
Yes, but I mean, the German and the French are great societies, or a lot of people, not really in the Italian part.
Okay. To keep going with this incredible accolades, so you have 3 years that you were a professional army drummer under Philippe Ruchet. That must have been quite exciting, I would imagine.
Yes, it was exciting, yeah.
All right. He also was a officer and a band leader for an Army regimental wind band, as well as a drum leader for a heritage group. And I'm not going to go any further because I will butcher these names, Ollie. So I'm going to hand it off to you to try and teach me how you pronounce some of these names.
Okay, see, even for me, as from the German part, this is our big challenge to be always correct and do not mix up. But maybe let's start. I was always thrilled. I met you, Lionel, I'm sure 20 years ago when you were a young conductor of your group, La Merula. Did you learn drumming there, or is that your start?
Yes, my start was in Lausanne in another small band, but after 2 years, I went to the Merula because it was the band in this area to go to, and yes, I moved really early to La Merula.
What was the reason? I think they have also fifers and drummers. Was that something new for you?
It was absolutely new for me. Fife and drums. I did not heard about that. And I just know that Merula is a great group of drumming. And when I went, I saw that they have fifer. It was absolutely new, but I was excited to make music with fifers and drummers, and it was really a great time.
Yes. Okay. To be honest, I was always a little bit jealous about you because I know you are not only an excellent drummer and an excellent person, but you're also a piano player and you are a very strong musician. So how important is music in your life?
I mean, it's really important. I become a drummer at early time, and then I made piano, not a lot of piano, but and then conducting wind bands. But it was really a great time, all my music life until now.
Yeah, that's also something what I'm a little bit jealous of you, because you always conducted as well, and you're actually a lieutenant in the army, or now even a captain or something.
No,
So
no,
you're one of
first
the only
first
officers.
lieutenant. Yes,
Yes.
officer, first lieutenant, but I'm retired. Some kind of I make I didn't make any days more for the army.
But you really were conducting not only a drum corps, you also were conducting a complete symphonic, or let's say wind band, correct?
A wind band and brass band. Yes, yes, for
Okay.
3 years of that.
So what is, in your opinion, then? It's only you I can ask, or maybe 2, 3 other people. What is the difference to conduct or to lead a wind band, a brass band versus our drumming?
Yes, I mean, for the drums, the movement has to be very precise to make the musician feel the rhythm. And for the orchestra, it's another feeling, because I had to round out the angles when I was conducting, breathe more with people, with musicians, and work more on the phrasing of the pieces. And I think I kept this rhythmic precision in my direction until now, as this drumming precision.
So you are a drum conductor who conducting the wind band.
Yes, some kind of yes.
How was the acceptance from the musicians? I mean, there is a lot of professional musicians in the wind band. We know that they are very proud of what they're doing, and they sometimes look a little bit
Yes.
beneath our drummers. So how was your work with them, and how could you inspire them as a so-called rudimental drummer to be really that conductor?
I think I had to build this acceptance, because at the first time the people was saying, "Oh, but it's only a drummer. Why he was conducting, or he's conducting?" And then I think I built up this confiance.
Yeah,
Ouais.
yeah. So
Yes,
you got that.
and then I got that. Yeah, I think.
Okay, but you were also spending as a professional in the army quite a few years. We call it the time soldiers for a certain limit, and in that time, I remember you were also composing several pieces. So can you talk a little bit about your composing works?
Yes, for my composite works, I was always fascinated by what American university drum lines can do, and most of the pieces I've written are inspired by this music, with a lot of drumstick playing. And 15 years ago, when I released the piece Drumline, inspired by the American movie of the same name from Charles Stone, the piece was immediately a great success, because it mixed percussion, drumming, and movement that nobody has played until then in Switzerland. And there is, since a lot of pieces in this direction, and it's the creativity in this field for the composer is really interesting to follow. And I think, yeah.
Go on.
I think it's great, because our music is not just left and right playing, but we have a lot of things to say, and of things to play, and I find it's great to captivate the audience.
Was that your motivation to compose?
I mean, it was just the idea to make people feel good to hear the music, and or to play the music. And it was just decided to make people feel good.
Okay, so I know the hit Drumline was, I think, is the most famous piece of your as a composer. Is there other pieces you did? I mean, is there some with piano and drumming, or is there some experimental music, or did you also compose traditional compositions? Or
Yeah, I mostly compose for drum and percussion, but I do some Basler march and one piece for fife and drums.
okay.
Because of my skill with the music and piano, I made one with fife and drums. Yes.
Okay, so great. So, but you not only, I mean, typical for Switzerland, it sounds like you are a professional musician, you are a drummer, you were in the army, but actually you do something completely different in your working life. So what are you doing actually? Because I still don't know. I know your name, but you changed and you do so many things. So let us talk a little bit. I know you're not familiar. You never talk about yourself. So that's now the chance to learn a little bit about Lionel.
Yes, thanks. I'm now a music teacher, but it's only 20% of my time. I work in Geneva as a music teacher, but I'm at the same time in charge of recruitment for a national insurance company for 60% of my time. And it's quite good because it's really two different jobs. And I appreciate this diversity with one foot fit in the economy and one in the music with more creativity. And it makes me a great work-life balance.
Mm-hmm. And which group are you at the moment? You mentioned the school. So what? So you're a teacher in the conservatoire. So can you talk a little bit about the last? Where are you at the moment conducting and teaching?
Yes, it's the Ondine Genevoise. It's a music school. It's not really a conservatory, but it's some kind of, and it's really sponsored by the state of Geneva. It's a main school in Geneva for music and for for especially for ensemble music for young people until 18. And I work since 2 years at this music school.
Great. Let's talk about that later. So now there is a reason on the first SIRDCAST, we call it, that you are invited, because actually, Mark, we are the three of us got appointed in Paris to, let's say, manage a little bit this society, because in the beginning there was just the idea, and I heard I call always the DIS, the Drumming Intelligence Service, told me that you made a trip to Paris together with the former president of the STPV, Markus Estermann, and our foreign minister, we call it, Martial Gumi. And you, the three of you made a trip many, many years ago and actually discussed with the French an idea. And I think let's start there, because I think there's not much people know that story.
Yeah, it's the beginning from SIRD, maybe. The idea came from Switzerland to make a symposium. And the first idea was to make with France. It was in years 2011, 2012. With the president from STPV, Norbert Kalbermatten. And then the idea of a symposium came back in 2014. And we went with Markus Estermann and Martial Gumi to Paris for the General Assembly of France drumming. And we with this idea to make something. And we discussed with France, first of all, to make a joint organization of a symposium, but we soon saw that it represented a lot of challenge. And the idea came up to organize a first symposium in Bern. It was for 2016, and followed by a second symposium in Paris, originally in Versailles, but it was not possible after that. So we make it in Paris, yes. And the organization of the first symposium lasted about 10 months. And then some people joined our team, Philippe Ruchet, with many international contacts and as army musician. And then other people like you, Oli, or André Lyoda as president of the STPV at this time. as career military officer who helped us to do this first meeting. Yeah.
So, Lionel, when we were discussing, this idea of a symposium, I mean, what was the intention? And was it at first really meant to just be a Swiss and French collection, and that was the first idea? And what really brought the idea of maybe expanding that from just the two countries?
Yes, I mean the first idea was more French, also France and Switzerland together. But I mean after 1 year, maybe we just know that it's quite better to open it and to make it for the whole world. But the first idea was more like France, Switzerland. But yes, we saw that that's better to open it.
So, I mean, that was another question too, as I know, I mean, a lot of people know that from research and history that the real beginnings of rudimental drumming really came from Switzerland. And there's always this discussion about what is Swiss, what is French, what time was it, and all of these different historical points of view. Was it an open discussion at first when you said, hey, we need to open this for everyone? Was that an easy decision, or was that something that kind of took a little bit more conversation?
No, I think it was a easy discussion because we discussed with France and we saw all advantage to make it open and maybe to know about what we are not at this point knowing, and we just think it's better to open and to make more people together.
Excellent. So, I mean, Ollie, I think you were going to bring up something as well about maybe like the challenges between, the French-speaking part of Switzerland, the STPV, and then also, getting that traction. Because I think building any organization, there's always those challenges at the beginning of someone has an idea, someone else maybe has a similar idea, and you put this together, and sometimes those ideas are very much in alignment, but usually they're not. Usually the idea has a little few bumps in the roads. What were some of the challenges that you? I mean, Ollie, you were a little bit, I think, part of this conversation too at the beginning of 2016. But I mean, if you guys could both talk about maybe what some of those challenges were at the beginning, trying to organize and structure this between the French and the Swiss, and then the French and the Swiss, and then everyone else.
Yes, I think just to be clear on that one, and I think Lionel, I was really amazed because I was out of, let's say, this project from 2014 to 2016. When I came back, I was actually the translator. That was also very interesting. And it's exactly a little bit what I think is also a huge barrier and challenge is language. And especially for the French. And I think, Lionel, you are one of these ambassadors, I would say, always. And I think this is a crucial role. And I think, and that's something I would like to ask you, Lionel, because you are now you are not only our secretary from SIRD or a beautiful conductor, whatever, we forgot completely, you are also a president of the French-speaking Swiss drumming. And I think, is it because of SIRD that you're doing that crazy stuff, or is it because you saw the challenge, or what is? Tell us a little bit about that. I think that's really for us very interesting to understand.
Yes, I was first of all I was in the STPV committee for a job like how do you say comptability?
Yeah, you were in the technician commission now, and you were before in the French part as well, already involved, correct?
Yes, it was another job, and then I took this place as
you
president
went to
in the French
politician.
part.
You went to a politician because you are
Absolutely.
also, I mean, this is interesting maybe also for the audience, Mark, and he is actually a musician like I'm too, and we never wanted to be the politicians who take over as presidents. And I think it came because you could see the potential, I hope so, and for you especially, Lionel, because I think you always the minority. And you were in the army in a German-speaking environment, so you talk also very good German, and you had to, because otherwise you wouldn't survive in this job. And I think maybe that's something. I think it's a challenge, isn't it? The language is really a barrier.
Yes. Yes, I think yes, it's really important.
And how did you how can you tell us a little bit, how can we overcome that, or what is the recipe, the formula to be successful in what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, you say it. The main challenge is the languages. I mean, for me, it was with German. First of all, then with SIRD, it was English. I'm not really good in English, but it was really this challenge. But I think I can took this challenge because of the music, and for me, it was the better place to be. And I saw really the potential with the French part to be in the STPV and to make something together. And as you say, you have to speak German to be understood in Switzerland at this level. And yes, I think it was the point.
But I know you are very diplomatic, but let's talk really frankly. I know the challenge between the French-speaking part of Switzerland, Geneva as a republic, independent, who is maybe not Switzerland and maybe not France, a completely independent town. And then we having, of course, the French, where we have a relationship for hundreds of years, but it's also not always an easy one. I'm talking specific notation, I'm talking style of drumming, and talking understanding how to collaborate. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes, I mean, in Geneva we are more Swiss than France, really. If you say someone in Geneva, oh, it's Geneva, you are from France, the people are saying, oh no, we are from Swiss. Maybe some people say, oh no, we are from Geneva. Swiss is another country, and France is another country. But I think we have, especially with the drums, in Geneva, we have this heritage from Basel drumming, and we are really on the Swiss part of drumming. And it's quite for us a challenge to speak with France, because it's clear it's another language. I mean, in the drum notation, and we share this language, French, but it's really like it's a foreign language for us. It's foreign people, and I think with this symposium it was a great, and I think it was the first point. It was great to bring people together from the French part of Switzerland with with France, with Paris, and it was really good for this.
I'd love to hop in real quick on that too, because a lot of people may not understand that in Switzerland, there's something like 45 fifing and drumming associations throughout the entire country. And what I thought was very fascinating to learn about was that each town, each village, and each city inside of Switzerland has a very specific and distinct fife and drum tradition. So, you have obviously Basel Fastnacht, and that's very popular, but you have obviously these different competitions that happen in different regions. But I think there's something I know from speaking with you, that there's a very special event that happens in December in Geneva that also involves fifing and drumming. Can you talk about that event in Geneva?
Yes, true. This event, l'Escalade, called Escalade in English, it's the event from 1602 when France, Duc de Bourgogne, tried to take Geneva. One night they came with a soldier and they want to take Geneva. And at this time, Geneva could defend the city. And there are a lot of stories about someone, a wife who was making the soup, making the dinner, and they put the dinner on the soldier from France, and it's quite crazy things, but it was really it's really something in Geneva. Special. You have to be there if you are a drummer in this area for Geneva, like Basel Fastnacht, as you say. Yeah.
But it's also, I think, are there specific marches or ways to dress? Because I think I've seen in some pictures that people dress kind of maybe in period uniforms or costumes?
Yeah, for Geneva, for the Escalade, the costumes are more 16 in the 16 years, and all society have the same costume. I mean, all society have a costume, but for this event, you have to take another costume, and you have to be like one uniform for all the people. And it's not only music; it's also army people, and are all in this costume from this period.
I'm fascinated by this conversation only because I've never been to it and I've seen lots of photographs. So, I mean, are a lot of your students the ones you're teaching? Do they participate in this event?
We want to, they not participate until now because we are playing a lot of Swiss marches with doublé, and the people who I teach are young people, and it's take 1-2 years until they can do it. But it's my main challenge is to participate. The main challenge was to participate this year, but it's not possible now, and I think it's quite good because we have another year to practice to make it next year.
So that's great. So is it a 1-day event? Is it a weekend? And is there a specific date for this, or how does like, when does it fall on the calendar?
Yes, it's always between the 10 and 13 of December. It's always on the weekend. It's take place on the weekend from Friday to Sunday, and on Sunday it's a big cortege, and then yes, and then with a lot of people, 200,000 people come for this event. It's quite crazy.
Fifing and drumming, Switzerland, Geneva, December, beautiful, on a lake, wine. I mean, you really probably can't be any more perfect than that.
Yes, you have to come, but not now, but you have to come one time.
Once coronavirus is done, we'll have to make
absolutely.
So let's Lionel, let's talk a little bit about the future or what happened this year. I mean, you mentioned it, Mark, Corona. Everyone talks about it. We talked about our SIRD movement, who started very young. We couldn't do it. We started not only with SIRDCAST, we started with SIRDNet, networking, a big success in my point of view. Lionel, that's something also you do. So a complete different topic, digitalization. Lionel, tell us about that, because you were really organizing the Zooms, you are doing the rehearsal, you're managing this all. So how important is digitalization for our future and for drumming and fifing?
Yes, I think with this Corona time, we learn a lot of in this side of digitalization. And I mean, the digital education is an increasingly important issue. But it's all clear that a single digital teaching is not possible to teach the instrument. And we have to find good compromise, maybe between face-to-face and distance learning with the young people. And it's called in jargon blended learning. And I personally use Moodle with my students because it's a free tool and it's used by many universities. And I create some additional exercise, or maybe for the students are recordings of pieces with different tempo to facilitate learning by oneself. And I find it's a good way to stay in touch with the parents too, because you can record attendance, grade, homework, and the parents could get on the platform and see what the students, what the young people are doing. And I think we have a lot of possibilities, but we have to try it, and after that make some adjustments and go further on this way.
But how is the acceptance? I mean, it's still emotionally different. I know we talk a lot about also people are fatigue of always going to these online sessions. School, huge challenge in our schools at the moment. How much is that? So how can we motivate, or how do you see the potential in because we are a live instrument, we have a signal instrument, we are drummers, we are not into I do a lot of work and so on. So how do you, or what is your experience on that one?
Yes, I think it's really important to play and to play together, and you can't do this with Zoom or with Moodle, but I think it's another way to take this link really with the people. Otherwise, you have nothing more to do. All people are at home, and you do nothing. And I think that's really critical if we not take the people together. And it's why we really try to make something with a Zoom rehearsal or one-to-one, or with these Moodle possibilities. But we have to play together. I think that's really the point we say. Yes, we have to play together.
I think there's also, we've been discussing things of how many times or how do you bring people from digital into a hybrid, because we know we can't go from hybrid right now to full live rehearsals. So I know when we did the SIRD event in September for the first digital event, we tried to organize obviously a watch party or things like that. Are there any kind of socially distanced rehearsals going on at the time where you are in Geneva?
Yes, at the time we can make some rehearsals. I mean, with adults, it's quite difficult at the time. From 2 or 3 days, the Council Federal took some measure. It's not quite easy, but for the students, it's not a problem.
Okay, and so then when you're using curriculum to try to teach students, what are some things you're using to teach?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
So when you're teaching, are you teaching all
Yes.
out of like a book? Are you teaching only marches? What are some things you're using to teach?
Oh, I'm using mostly the STPV book called Wirbel to teach, and it's good for the young people because you have all side of drumming. You don't not only marches. I try really to make it open and to make some exercise for the musician. They have to hear about the order, to make some two voice, three voice, and they have to play together, not only for their own.
Well, I love it because you're also combining some educational curriculum that now is quite innovative, honestly. So you also, I think you had put together this flip book of these rudiments. Is that correct?
Yes, yes,
And
it's
I
correct.
think
Yes.
from my point of view, that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in rudimental drumming, is that you have these kind of steps and these 4 different flip books combined together into one book where you can take different rudiments at different technical levels, and you
Levels.
can
Yes.
teach children the rudiments, but they're also learning how to read. What does the rudiment look like? And then you can create these different combinations. And so I don't know. Of course, you're Swiss, so you're thinking very structured and everything is there. But I mean, that is something I don't think that would have ever been invented in the US. That is definitely a Swiss thing. And honestly, it's an incredible invention. And what were some thoughts putting that together?
Yes, I create this book to facilitate the study of sight reading. And I think the inspiration came to me when I was expert at the military music entrance exam, and I saw talented people failing or struggling because of this exercise of sight reading. And I noticed that often there are no methods to learn sight reading, and nothing progressive to start slow and progress. And that's why I came up with this idea of a book with 4 columns, and you can make your own exercise. There is more than 2 million possibilities. You can really do something like you want. And for me, the most important was that the students have fun to do something with sight reading, because a lot of students say, oh no, how do you play? I played after you. How do you play? I don't want to read. And I mean, if you have something like you can play with and it's make fun, I think it's a great thing, and students have fun how to make something.
Well, and that bridges into the next question too. I mean, so how do you see the future when it comes to drumming and fifing? What are some big thoughts, or even small thoughts, on the future of fifing and drumming?
Yes, I think we need to tell our story and make people feel like part of our story, and to motivate them. And I think it's important now to explore new ways, because the tradition must endure, but we also adapt to the time. We have to adapt to the time with more modern music, maybe pop music, or sometimes, or in order to reach our wider audience. And how to see the next generation of musicians, the possibilities of exchange. And that's really cool with SIRD, because we have now better possibilities to exchange and to build a community, and to say we are not alone. Because when I was young, I was saying, okay, I'm alone. I'm in Merula, but I don't know from all these people around the world. And I think SIRD is making a great job in this direction.
That's awesome. Ollie, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, Lionel, what do we have to do, Mark, me, and our sales community, to keep you in that, what you're doing? Great. And because you are, for me, really instrumental in our organization. You are the point of contact. Big businesses working very hard to have this famous single point of contact where you trust. So what do we have to do, or how do you see, maybe turn it out differently or ask differently? How do you see SIRD in the future? What do we have to do to keep this momentum up from your point of view, from the beginning?
Yes, I think yes, we have to go on the same way. I think we have now a great community, and it's growing up, and I think we have to go on this same way to share the tradition, to really not to judge other, but really share tradition, and be open. Just be open and make some events like the digital event, or Portsmouth, or another one. And I think it's quite a great move now with this community, and I think it's beginning to roll from them on. I find from 2016 to now, it's a huge step. Yeah.
Lionel, I think one of the things that always inspires me is learning about other people's inspiration and where they started, how they began, who their mentors were. How did you learn, what you learned? So were there some people in your life that you would consider some of your biggest mentors to bring you from where you were to where you now are?
I think the biggest mentor for me was Staff Warrant Officer Philippe Ruchet, my boss at the army. And because he has always been an example for me with his multitude of skills, great drummer, great musician too, conductor, organizer, or with the army people. And I discovered with him many aspects of the music, with the organization, rehearsal, events, conducting. And I liked to see this different aspect of music beyond the notes.
I think this has been a great conversation. There's definitely so many things we can dive into. And honestly, what I'd love to do is if we can revisit some of these topics again, discussing the events in Geneva. And honestly, if we were to, bring folks over at some point post-pandemic, which I know all of the regulations and things for travel would be very different. But sure. I want to say, Lionel, thank you so much for taking the time this morning. Ollie, is there anything that you'd like to finish with?
No, I think it was a good start. I think you are the right person to start this cast. I think maybe, Mark, if you could just go and tell us a little bit what the plans are with the next interviewees, and also a little bit how we want to build up this SIRDCAST to finish that first SIRDCAST would be great.
Well, I think, quite frankly, we're going to move forward with a lot of the composers of rudimental drumming. We're definitely going to hit some history. But I think, Lionel, you brought up a great point, this discussion of sharing the story and being a part of the story. And you shared your story with us, but then we got to do a deep dive into your story. But now your students will have you as part of their story. And so I think moving forward, this has been a great diving board or launch board into some really great, exciting next conversations. We're looking to talk to, folks like Peter Volpehorst, who also taught so many incredible drummers in the Netherlands. And quite frankly, I know his father-in-law, Schword, was also a big proponent of Dutch rudimental drumming and getting into the story of, he was a Dutch Royal Marine. He taught a lot of the very traditional Dutch rudiments, and that story is really exciting too. So I think the three of us getting together to do this first one really starts to build the stepping stones for what SIRD can now offer in the future from a digital point of view. Three of us having a digital conversation, but now we're capturing this story really for the first time with technology. So I kind of always look back and we talk about share the tradition, share the story. What if Dr. Berger and Alphonse Grieder could have recorded their lessons? Or what would have happened if you would have, the first Swiss drummers who met the first French drummers, and what was their interaction like? And could that have been recorded? And so now we have the ability to actually record these conversations, and the SIRDCAST, that's really the goal and vision, is to try to capture these moments where there are absolutely global steps moving forward across the entire world, progressing with rudimental drumming, from Russia to Singapore to the US to Switzerland to the Netherlands, Australia. And crazily enough, this has never happened before. It's never been able to happen. So from me to all of you, I think this is a huge honor, and I am humbled to be a part of this conversation. I just want to say thank you both for allowing me to talk with both of you today.
Yes, so thank you, Mark, to make it happen, because it's always needs someone who is execute and not only have a good idea. And I'm really, really happy, Lionel. Actually, you were the enabler in the beginning, in the first symposium, as a, like, say, not sexy secretary. Maybe we have to change once the name.
No, it's okay.
But,
it's okay.
but I think that's really something we cannot underestimate, that it has to be done. So the idea to the execution, and thanks for that, Lionel. I mean, you made a tremendous job in the past. You do it today, and it was really great to hear your thoughts, your life, your autobiography. I think I fully agree with Mark. That's how we build up also and motivate our kids, but also motivate us to do what we like to do next to everything else we do. Thanks very much for that.
Lionel, thank you so much for your time today. It's inspiring, and quite honestly, you're such a good person that it makes me feel better to get to see you and speak with you. And is there anything else that you'd like to share with the listeners today?
Oh, thank you, Mark. I would like to thank you, Mark and Oli, for your time and for this great conversation. I'm really humbled to be part of this, and I will wish all drummers around the world safe time now and health. And I hope we can see us in person as soon as possible, I would say. And take care all. Bye bye.
All right, everyone, have a wonderful day, and thank you for listening to episode number 1 of SIRDCAST.